So my name is Shaaira Jagot. I came to Mackenzie between 1994 and I finished in 2008. Well, at the time, I would think that Mackenzie didn't have a lot of competition within like Lilongwe. And it had just had a really good reputation, and a lot of, like I was saying earlier, my cousins had already attended the school, and I think it just had a good name, and everyone believed it had a really good quality of education, so they chose to have me and my siblings come here. Yeah, so prior to me, the first cousin that came to Mackenzie was Jagot, and she began in 1980. And then we had someone, and then like her brother came, and like my sister joined, myself, my brother, and then another like 5 cousins after that, and another cousin too. So altogether it was about 11 people between 1980 and 2022. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was nice to obviously see them at school, and we would have very similar stories of teacher that we all had, mutual teachers that we had. And yeah, I think even some of our social circles overlapped. It was good to have those big social circles with family members. It's like I think Bishop Mackenzie was very proud of having a swim team, and having those early morning tryouts. I wasn't involved, but I knew a lot of my friends that were part of the swimming, so it was very important to the school. In terms of daily life, I think primary school is obviously very different to secondary school. A lot of the classrooms that you see now today, they're not very different to how they used to be run. They're quite similar. I've noticed obviously some changes as time has gone past. And I was lucky enough to also come back here as a teacher since, so I'm not sure if that answers your question. So my most favorite thing about you also mentioned like daily life, I think being in a place where there's so much diversity, and being able to, I think, learn about the differences in culture and religions, and just being around different people. I think that was always like my favorite thing about here. And I valued that in primary and secondary school. In terms of what's kind of changed, I would probably say that I have noticed that when I was coming here as a student, a lot of the local population of students was we were always the minority compared to the expat children within a classroom. And that's changed that I've seen it as a teacher now. I feel like it's really nice to see a lot more local, people that are from here, local Malawians, from whatever background. That I feel like that's been quite a change. There's a bigger local. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot more local kids compared to like expat kids. I think we're quite close. I was thinking back to like who I still keep in touch with, and there's still at least 5 or 6 people that I am pretty close to. And when I say close, I mean that they know what's going on in my life right now. I talk to them, I would say at least once every few weeks. And I can't remember how many people we had in our class. It probably was about 20, if I'm not mistaken, or a little bit more. And yeah, we all knew each other. We definitely, some of us didn't keep in touch afterwards, but there's still a few that I think we have like really strong relationship with now. Definitely losing Susan. So she was a student that was in my class. I was very close to her. She was one of my really good friends. And I remember that the 3rd of March was public holiday, so we didn't have school. And we had class photos on that Thursday. And then by Sunday, I know that her family was going away. I think it was to Zomba, if I remember correctly. And then I got the news that her mom had passed away in a car accident. And then after that, coming back to school was really, really hard. brought some of us closer together. But I think because her personality was louder than life, she had a really big personality, loved singing and making people laugh. Her laugh was extremely contagious. We'd always joke about how you could hear her coming out of a car down by the car park if you were even standing up here by the field. And it was a huge loss to me, for my class. Seeing her empty spot afterwards was really difficult to go through. Just because she used to love chatting and joking around a lot, it was really difficult to also see her empty spot in the classroom, because obviously she had an assigned seat. We wouldn't see her. I do remember the teachers trying to be as supportive as they could. We raised some money, and I believe the bench is still out there. I'm glad that it's still there. We used to call this Memorial Garden. So we raised some money and had that done in honor of her memory. And I tried to keep in touch with her sister, who still lives here. I don't know if I remember this correctly, but I think we raised money through a football tournament, but I might be wrong. I think it was just a good chance for us to get together as a class, and kind of depend on each other a little bit, and kind of just, and because she was so well known, we even had when in the 2000s there was a competition that was really popular called Pop Idol, and we had our own version of Student Idol, and she was in the finalists. I can't remember if she won. She might have won. I know that she was in the top 3. So almost the whole school knew who she was. So it wasn't difficult to kind of try and raise money for the bench, because everyone felt that loss. So once I finished, I wasn't really sure about what to do next. I know that I enjoyed, a little bit working with kids. And because I didn't go to uni right away, my teachers actually reached out to me. So at the time, there was the head teacher was Mr. Barber, David Barber, and his wife was the maths teacher, and he was the biology teacher when I was here. And there was a student who, she was a European student, didn't speak any English, and they wanted to help her out in maths. And they wanted someone to help convert the maths into English and kind of teach her the English version of maths to her, because she'd never learned it in English. And that was kind of my first taste, I think, of tutoring and teaching. And then I spent some time in primary school that same year, so it would be around 2009, helping a couple of students with, keeping them focused in class, because both of them had been diagnosed with ADHD. So I was their one-to-one kind of assistant in the classroom. And then I tried different things. I tried accounting for a little while. It wasn't my cup of tea. I tried either working with my dad for a little while. That was also not something I wanted to do. And then I managed to find an online undergrad it was BA in education with community development and psychology. I think it just reading the description, I knew that once I would be able to get through this and get that degree, I would hopefully maybe even come back here and get a job here. So I finished my undergrad, and then I did my postgrad certificate in education. While I was doing my undergrad, a mutual friend kind of reached out to me and said she was leaving, and she was doing the same one-to-one work with students that had ADHD and other special needs. And she was leaving the country, so she wanted me to kind of take over her role. So that was about 2013. So then I was studying and working part-time as a teaching assistant. And then finished my undergrad, did the PGC. When I did the PGC, I was lucky enough to be the postgrad actually requires a mentor. So there was this SEN coordinator at the time here at Bishop Mackenzie, Julia Bach. She was my mentor, and she helped me through my teaching practicals. And once I was done with my PhD, it kind of just all fell into place. I got a full-time job in 2016. Yeah, and then I was here as a full-time teacher, 2 years in year 1, and then 4 years in year 6. And then, that brings us to 2022. And then since then, I left to do my master's at the University of Nottingham, and I just got back in January, figuring out what next. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of supportive teachers throughout my time here that made me kind of think maybe that's somebody I really want to be. I mean, in all my years in primary school, I think my favorite primary school teacher was Neil Charles. He was just very lovely, and it's always interesting. I think at that time, having a male primary school teacher was very novel because we'd had female primary school teachers up until then, and it's still the same case today. And I remember responding differently to a male teacher compared to a female teacher, and then I can reflect on that now as a teacher and understand why is it that children respond differently to different genders as teachers. I think it's just could be to do with culture, traditions, and apart from that, I think I had genuinely caring teachers, especially in secondary school. Somebody who always looked out for us. Her name was Mrs. Todd. She's someone I still keep in touch with every now and then. Not only does she kind of look after us, to do, push us academically, she also looked after us with our mental health and well-being outside of school. So she'd have these emotional check-ins just to make sure that we're okay. I think there are definitely people that I felt have inspired me today, and they would have ignited kind of my passion for being caring and being a good role model to younger kids. That's a good question. I mean, the biggest change that's very obvious would be the curriculum itself. I know that we changed over from, when I was a kid, it was key stage curriculum, and now it's the PYP curriculum, the IB curriculum. The whole school is a whole IB school. It never used to be that way. And with that comes the change in, I think, developing this holistic overview of a child. So I think that's a big difference. I feel, and I think that's a positive difference because there's a move away from, I think, just that grade-oriented academic pressure to kind of developing a well-rounded individual. And I really appreciate that. I think Bishop Mackenzie does that a really good job. Not yet. I only have my own experiences of Key Stage to compare the IB curriculum to. And I read about other curriculums, but I have not taught them. So that might be something that I might do in the future, kind of just experience different curriculums. But just, I think, being in England for the last year, that kind of gave me a little bit of exposure to what's going on in England in terms of the education system there. And there's just a general, I think, pressure on producing good grades, and that being a direct reflection of teachers. And I think the IB moves away from that and also develops the curriculum as, they make it as personalized as they can for a child. And that's always my favorite thing about it, because it's very individualized, very personalized, especially the PYP, which I'm super familiar with. I mean, I mentioned my favorite teachers. In terms of there's a few physical aspects of the school that have changed. The cafeteria behind you wasn't there before. There used to be a basketball court. I guess the whole changed a little bit. Well, just this area where we're sitting in right now. Yeah, and I mean, if I did an entire walk from primary to secondary, I'd be able to tell you the little bits that have changed. I'm really glad that you gave me an opportunity to talk about Susan today. yeah, I appreciated that. Yeah, I think it was very organized on our part because we would be kind of grouped into domains, I think they're called, or like different areas that need reporting on. And every group has its focus. I think I remember being part of the IT integration part, and we like kind of, interviewed different teachers and figured out like where, what the school was already currently doing, the things that we needed to improve on, how much has it changed from before. So yeah, I think it's a lot of collaborating and teamwork. And I believe it's an upcoming thing for the school at the moment too. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, it was difficult because we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. But honestly, the biggest, I think, shout out to Eloise and Gail, being our leader in primary, being the head teacher. She really took it by the reins and made sure that, we believed that we could do it. And overnight, we had to learn how to set up a website, and most of us were just basically doing our own professional development using YouTube videos and whatever we could find online. There's a lot of positives, I think, that came out of it. A lot of the tools that I feel like I became more confident using during the pandemic are still things that I use today in my teaching and skills that I'm also passing down. I think we all generally became a lot more familiar with technology, which is where schools are going and what we kind of need to teach kids for the future. So yeah, very grateful for Eloise's leadership for that. I appreciate being back at school and being face-to-face instead of being online at home. Yeah.
Dun.